Hello, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna. I'm a little bit spooky. We are barefaced again today. Well, not really barefaced. I do have some foundation on, but we're kind of starting at the beginning today because we are playing with the Danessa Myricks Beauty Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette. We're going to deep dive into this palette and see what is going on and talk all about it and test its full capabilities today. So yeah, if that interests you, just go ahead and keep on watching. But before you do, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know what you think of the Groundwork palette and Danessa Myricks Beauty. Alright, let's get on to the video. In the viewfinder, it looks like I don't even have eyes. Anyway, so yeah, me and my friend Claire had a little play date and palette swap around, and she got this palette for Christmas, and we both kind of agreed that it feels sort of like an intimidating palette in a really weird way. Like you get it and you're like, ooh, but then you're like, but what do I do with it? I don't know why it feels that way, but it kind of does. Well, I have a theory. But yeah, it's just a palette of super neutral shades. You have what is referred to as a pomade formula and then a powder formula. And there's some really neat callouts about all of that, which we will go over. But yeah, it looks like you can pop these out potentially at some point. I'm wondering if they'll be sold individually so that you can replace the ones that you use up. This is definitely something that looks to be meant from very much a makeup artist perspective, or you know, for like a very much an artistry perspective. I could see this being incredibly useful in a makeup kit if you weren't professional. But I'm curious about how approachable it would be just for the average person. Because yeah, you got like all the neutrals you could need in here and the two formulas. And the palette is marketed as a full face palette where you can contour with it, you can do lips with it, you can do brows, eyes, kind of everything. And I think what throws me off from that is just the pan size being quite small. Like the cream size of the little pomades I think is fine. If the powder was a little bit bigger, that could work. Or potentially a packaging similar to like Patrick Ta where it has the little windows. I could see that also being a little more approachable feeling. Like there's something about it that's just like, I think it's just the palette size or the pan size themselves that's throwing me off, because they're small, they're eyeshadow sized, particularly the powder size, the powder portion, because it is quite small. Or well, it's just normal eyeshadow pan size. So when you're thinking of like contouring, I'm like, that's a tiny color to contour with. The pomades and powders are corresponding. They're supposed to be exact match, same shades to go together. And one thing I do want to mention is that they are all matte except for the black shade in here, Tourmaline. It does have a little bit of a shimmer sheen in it, kind of a soft satin, which I think is oddly kind of nice. I like that. But it looks like everything else is matte within, and you have the pomade formula, which is such a lovely feeling texture. It feels like a true cream to powder. It reminds me a little bit of Natasha Denon's cream to powder formula. Like it doesn't feel wet necessarily. There's like a moussey, just it's a interesting texture. Like it doesn't feel like a greasy cream or anything like that. Like it feels like a cream to powder. And I think Danessa really does do some innovative formulations, so that's something I really enjoy about her. She definitely is experimental with the formulations. I feel like she's tests them so much like in application, in working, that she knows what works and what should be in a product. It just I trust her judgment with that kind of stuff. But let's go over some of the details real quick and call outs before we dive in any further. The Groundwork Defining Neutrals retails for $65, which I was actually anticipating this palette to retail for more than that. Judging by like the price of her Lightwork palettes and some of the other things, I was gonna think $80 for this, but I was like, oh, $65. I can wrap my head around that price, because you're getting a fair bit of product here. This maybe is like kind of a grown-up version of the Shade and Light palette from KVD almost. Like it's that similar Shade and Light concept. Shades that are very native to your skin tone type of thing. This is a multi-use talc-free palette with velvet pomades. Velvet is the perfect way to describe those. With velvet pomades and coordinating oil-absorbing powders that easily define the eye, brows, cheeks, and lips. The powders are formulated with something called upsolite, which is meant to control oil, smooth texture while setting in everything for long wear, which is really cool. I appreciate that. You have 10 shades in here. Velvet Pomade is a high-performance, lightweight pomade that applies with ease. It feels so light. And then you have the Shape and Fix powders, which are infused with the upsolite. Me and Claire were talking about the palette because it's something kind of intimidating about it because it's just neutrals. It's like, but they're not your run-of-the-mill neutrals that you see in palettes very often. Like the shade Stone, I think, is definitely a little bit unique. Like, I don't see this kind of shade often in palettes, or like, I don't know, they're interesting undertones, but shades are definitely like hair color tones. They're definitely contoury, shadowy tones, but they're not your classic eyeshadow tones also. But then again, this is meant to be for all parts of the face, and definitely can be versatile in that respect. I kind of dig that. And we were looking at it thinking the one thing that really is missing in here that maybe would either been a nice addition or could have subbed out one of the shades would have been something a little more with a pink undertone or a peach. But I told Claire, I was like, I bet you there's going to be a Groundwork 2 with more shades that's going to tie into this. But we were thinking about like packaging ideas and stuff. It's like, she did these like individually and kind of packaged them the way the Patrick Ta blushes are packaged, like this with the little window, and maybe did them in this size. I think that would feel also quite approachable. I'm thinking that they went with the smaller, more bite-size sizing here because they want it to be something that is consumer friendly, not going to take up a ton of space either, and probably to keep the price down. Because I feel like, if the pans were bigger, it would probably cost twice as much. Also, by the way, the packaging on this is beautiful. Like, this to me is a very consumer-friendly packaging. This doesn't look like Viseart or something that's just kind of boring and pro-looking. Well, Viseart kind of moved away from that, but you know what I mean. The way a lot of the pro brands look, they're not the most exciting exteriors. This actually has the really pretty exterior as well, and this really nice metal hardware right here with the name where it says Groundwork Defying Neutrals, palette for eyes, brows, face, and lips. And yeah, it's got the measurements and everything here and the weights. So I'm thinking we could do something very sculpted and kind of sultry with this, and just kind of see the capabilities of doing a little bit of sculpting on the face, the brows, eyes, the whole thing with this one palette, and see what we can do with it. I would like to see maybe, yeah, definitely something, maybe a pinker undertone. That would be the only thing that I would say is missing. And that's why I'm thinking there's probably going to be another edition of this, and maybe one with like a little bit more blushy tones in it. I bet you that's going to happen. Like a volume 2. And I could see having a giant, or not giant, but like a huge like Z palette type of thing, portfolio, where you could have all of them in a huge collection. But I'm not sure if you can buy these individually. I'll have to check and see if that's a thing, because I feel like you should be able to like replace shades just the way it's set up in here, where it has a little notch to lift pans out. I don't know if maybe that's just to pot it from this into something like a portfolio style palette or whatever. But anyway, yeah, these are very like earthy tones, very hair colory tones. So I'm going to get started here. I'm going to start with the brows, and I'm going to take a little angled brush. And for my brows, I think I'm going to start with the shade called Sculpted with the pomade and see what that looks like. So I'm going to pick a little bit up with the pomade, and we'll see if it works like a brow pomade. I'm just quite curious. So I don't have anything in brows, just a little bit of gel where I kind of put them in place. Oh, well, yep, that's a little deeper than I was anticipating, a little more pigmented. And it's applying super easy into the brow. Yeah, that's nice. And I like that you could bounce between so many shades within this to tone something just how you would want it to look. And have like multi-dimensional. I could see this palette offering a little bit of being a little intimidating and a little bit like, what do I do with this though? Like, it's beautiful and like there's something very satisfying about looking at it, but it's also like, but what do I do? Where do I put these? I really do think it might just be like the pan size is throwing me off to where I don't want to think about it beyond just being like an eyeshadow palette. Aside from like the brow thing, I do occasionally use an eyeshadow in my brows, especially if like I'm out of my brow pencil or something. As far as like the rest of the face and lips, I think that's really intriguing. So we'll try that too. I just want to kind of see what all we can accomplish here. I'm definitely liking this color through the brow. That's nice and easy to work with. Yeah, nice brow shade. And there's definitely something in here for like ashy blondes, redheads, brunettes. You're covered as far as the brow colors go for sure. Maybe I'll take, all right, I'm gonna take a little bit of the powder in the same sculpted little section. We'll set over. Pretty perfect for brow color. And I know when you hear pomade, you think of like the ABH brow pomade. This is nothing like that. Or like a hair pomade. These feel like the Cream de Powers. The closest I could pair would be the Cream de Powers and Natasha Denona. Or like a matte Super Shock shadow, the way those kind of feel. Similar to that. But definitely velvety. That is the best descriptor. Like, they're a pleasure to touch. I could also see this working really well within Danessa's range because she has those light work palettes that are just the duochromes and like the color fixes and the twin flames and those really fun eyeliners. Like we have the Lightwork 3 here, which we will be diving into in a couple of days or in the next video. But imagine pairing these with some of the neutrals in here. So yeah, it definitely has a place within her line, and just if you have a lot of individual fun shadows and just need a good palette of neutrals, here you go. You got all the undertones you could possibly ask for except for something pinky. Yeah, just like a peach, something peach that could work as almost in a blush aspect too. That's truly the only thing missing. But as far as Groundwork, I think is a really good name for this because this is like the groundwork for a look. It's the sculpt side of everything. I think I just would like to see bigger powder pans or just like an even size, I guess. But I don't know, maybe she's anticipating you run through the creams a little bit quicker than you would the powders. I just think of fitting the brush in there to, like, if you were going to sculpt the face, you're going to have to sculpt with an eyeshadow brush. That's what I'm thinking anyway. That makes it maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say confusing, but like, maybe a little confusing. Didn't mention how much I love Danessa Myricks, so as just a person in general. Like, what a lovely lady. I absolutely adore her. If you just need a nice pick-me-up, go follow her Instagram. Every Sunday, she posts the most beautiful, like, positivity posts, and they just get you right in the heart. Like, they're so good. And just anytime I see her face in my timeline and she just smiles and just makes me so happy because she has one of those very infectious smiles that when you see her, you just smile right back. And you're like, yeah. She just makes me happy. Just something about her expression. There's a warmth that just like emanates from her videos, her shorts. I'm like, that is a lovely lady and I want to spend time with her. She just has a good energy. And I love watching the way she does makeup. The way she just gets in there with her hands. I'm like, oh, I love it. It's so satisfying. So let's see what we can do as far as a little bit of like a cheek sculpt. I want to not go ham here. I've set a little bit in the center of my face, but the rest of my face is not set yet. So we should be okay. Everything else on my face is going to be listed and linked below. I'm trying to think of what brush I could use. I think this one will fit just so in here, and I'm just gonna tap in, but let me select what shade I'm thinking to contour with. I think maybe we'll try a little bit of Stone. Stone feels like a good sculpting shade for me. Stone or Chiseled? Chiseled might be good too. Well, you know what? We'll take a little bit of Stone and see what that does. So I'm just gonna take a little bit on the tip of this brush and see. Oh, yeah. See, I would need that giant pan so I could just go in. That's another thing. I feel like I don't want to like go in with the small pans like I would with a larger palette. And I know she has contour products and everything. I don't think it's the same formula. This formula is really nice. Just this little bit of playing with it and swatching, I'm like, this is a beautiful formula. I'm just doing some barely little tip taps in there. Hardly picking up any product, and it is definitely not playing around. Cool. It is here for business. I really do like the way that looks in the brows as well. Yeah, that is a wonderful sculpting shade. And this was one that I would really think this shade would be perfect for blonde hair as a brow. Really ashy cool tone brown blondes. But yeah, I do like that. That is nice. That is nice. Let's see what a little bit of chiseled looks like. Mixed in because it has a slight bit more warmth. I think they're about the same depth level. This one's a little bit of a different undertone. You're getting definitely a variety of undertones in here as well. Nice. These are great sculpting shades. Yep, I could definitely see how these would be wonderful in a makeup kit and for a working artist. Absolutely. I'm taking a little bit of stone on this little brush. Just a little on the nose. And I'm still working with just the creams. Whoops. These are pigmented. So yeah, actually maybe that pan size makes sense because I think it would take a while to go through one. I'm barely touching it. I'm getting so much product and so much payoff from like just a kiss of product. Keep that in mind that they are fairly pigmented. Wow, that truly does mimic shadow so well. Let's see, for the eyes, what color do I want to play with? I'm going to take a little bit of the shade called Mirage, which is still in the cream family. Picking a little bit up on this brush. I'm going to start to run that through the socket. It'd be pretty to bring this color in right here. So I'm just going to work throughout the face. Yeah, that has a nice kind of a bronzer feel almost to it. I like that. Bit of a yellowy brown undertone. Warm yellow undertone with this shade. I'm going to take a little bit of chiseled, the cream, tuck it further in. And I'm wiping my brush off in between shades. Very nice. Nice and sculpty. Just take a little bit of sculpted all around. So yeah, I guess you could use a brush like this to sculpt out. So around the lips, I'm going to take some more sculpted. Like a contour, lip contour. Well, I'm going to clean this little brush off and I'm going to grab a little Mirage, the cream again. I'm just a little bit around here, treat it like a bronzer. Perhaps pull a little warmth in. This is actually a pretty effective method of applying product too. I know I see a few makeup artists do use just brushes like this. These are giant brushes. It works. A little time consuming, but you also are being way more precise. Let's deepen things up. Let's see. Let's take a little bit of the shade called Bark. Let's take a little bit of Bark. Get with the cream. And just put a little bit on the tip of this brush. And you'll kind of paint that on. Right here, tuck that into the socket a little more. That is a pretty undertone. And using this fluffy brush, it's going on in a soft kind of wash. But these colors are just flowing on. Definitely blendable. I don't think you'd have any complaints with that. Yeah, the blendability here is not disappointing. And see, I took a little bit of that same shade, but on a little bit more of a concentrated brush, and you get way more impact. See, versatility as far as that goes. Let's use a little bit of the shade called Harvest. I'm going to bring that, treat it as lip liner. So I have seen her do this. Nice. I that looks really good. What a pretty lip shade. You just take it with your finger? I mean, that's what it's for, to use everywhere. Wow. Nice. Pretty. And take a little bit of like core in the center. Danessa. Yeah, once you get your little hands in here, it's just taking that minute, I think, to wrap your brain around the palette. Yeah, okay. I'm getting a little bit of a smaller E27 here. I'm gonna take some of the cream color sandstone. I wonder what this will look like. I'll put a little bit just in here. Yeah, it's not as yellow looking as I thought it would be. It just looks quite buttery, like butter colored in the pan. Yeah, not too bad on the eye. Quite brightening. All right, let's jump over to some of the powders now. You can lock in the eyes and maybe a little bit on the cheeks. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the bark powder, which when you look at them, the tones look different, but they are supposed to be the same shade. So take a little bit of the bark powder first and apply that over to, oh, hello. Yep, hi. Wow, blendable. Woo. I don't think I've swatched the powders. Let me see how they feel. Very soft. Oh yeah, those feel nice. They're not, there's no dustiness. There's like no kick up, which is great since they're next to kind of a creamy product. Either the cream is such a velvety texture, I don't think it would cause any disruption or like hurt the creams any, or the pomades rather, if a little bit of the powder got on them. I don't think it would be that big a deal. Yep, liking this bark shade. I feel like in a lot of the videos I saw people trying this palette out, they just also seemed a little lost and confused with it. Yeah, it's definitely one you kind of have to sit and think for a second and maybe watch some videos of people using it. And I do love the concept of layering cream and powder. I do that a lot in my regular makeup application for longevity's sake, using, working in thin layers. So this plays right into that. Man, that's so blendable too. Ooh-wee. Again, I'm gonna take a little bit of the cream powder, sandstone. I just want to say cream because it's like a creamy color. It really is like a butter color. It's like the color of my walls. Okay, that looks really nice. I'm gonna take this little smudger brush, a little bit of the bark powder, just lock that in under there as well. That's good stuff. I mean, the formulas in here, you cannot complain about. These formulas are beautiful. Let's smoke out this outer lash line real quick. I'm gonna take that liner brush and the black called tourmaline. Let's try to draw a little liner. There's a just like smudginess to the edges of everything with this palette. Everything looks so soft and soft focused. That's very satisfying. And that pigmentation is great on the black cream. Yeah, it's beautiful matte finish, very velvety. And we'll take the black shade, the black powder, which it does have a satin finish, this one particular one, and it feels so smooth. But yeah, it's like very much a satin, just kind of nice, especially in like a black eyeshadow. All right, we'll just use that to sit over that cream. Softly blur those edges. And a nice little smoky liner moment. Yeah, I'm not really experiencing any fallout. I'm going to take just a little dusting now of the shade called Core. Just a little bit of that right here. Bring a little bit of warmth in. I wonder if I took just a little bit of that shade called Harvest on this brush right here. A very light amount, just what we used on the lips. And we can kind of treat that as a bit of a blushy moment. Might be a little too deep. but sorta. Sort of. Maybe if we took a little bit of core. Yeah. Yeah. Hey. The same combo that I did on the lips. On the cheeks. Harvest and core. Unexpected. Didn't think they would look that good on the cheek. And I still think there needs to be a little bit of something peachy in here. But this is not too far off from what I would like in a palette. And those were the creams, by the way, that I just put on the cheeks. As far as the powder, let's see if we can pick up a little bit of that on here. Got a little tiny bit on the tip. Yeah. Kind of gives a warm, blushy moment. Huh. Look at that. That is surprising. Unexpected. An unexpected little palette here. Taking some chiseled of the powder. Well, well, well. What a pleasant surprise this palette is. I'm grabbing just a little bit more of the powder bark. Just deepening that up. Just a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Alright, I definitely need to touch up my face powder. I'm gonna throw on some mascara and lip gloss. I think we'll call it good. I'll be right back. Okay, and here is everything all complete. I just threw a little gloss on over top. The lip wasn't budging. Like, it didn't transfer on my hand before I put the gloss on. Let's see how it does with the gloss on it. Like a little bit, but not bad. Like, that I was not expecting. And when I went to go wipe the shadows off my hand, like they were, where I swatched, they're sticking pretty good. So yeah, I'm anticipating some longevity from this face as far as that goes. But anyway, this way everything is looking, I think it looks so nice. So very nice. I can definitely see a place for this palette in a lot of people's routines and collections, depending what your needs are, especially a working makeup artist for sure can get some use out of this. But I think this is consumer friendly. It really is, like the average makeup enthusiast friendly. Do I think it's a palette for beginners? No, I think it's gonna be a little what do I do with this palette for somebody just starting out? But if you just want some basic neutrals and having that velvet formula with the powder formula, it's pretty nice. And I think you could definitely, with a little bit of playing around, wrap your head around the color story pretty easily. It just might take a little experimenting, a little swatching, and seeing how you like to use the shades. Light hand, they are quite pigmented in a really nice way, but they're so blendable and so diffused looking. There is a airbrushed quality to these eyeshadows that are just gorgeous, like a soft focus look to them. And shockingly easy to use once I got my hands in there. Just from the outside looking at it, it was just like, ooh, I don't know why. I don't know what to do with you. But I love the way it looks in the brows. I love the sculpt it did. The lips, the eyes. I like that the black in here is not a complete true pitch black. It actually has a softness to it, which does enable it to create more of a shadowed effect. And yeah, this is definitely a great Groundwork palette to build with. Use this and then something like her Lightwork palettes, going in with like dual chromes with it. Yes, and we will be doing that, of course, in another look. But I can definitely see that having its place, especially in her range and just across the board. This is a palette for the makeup enthusiast, for the makeup artist, the professional on-set makeup artist. It has a market and a place out there, and I don't think the price point is too crazy. I think it's fine, and it's beautiful. Beautiful look at. This feels so nice to the touch, and that metal emblem. Yeah, Danessa knows what she's doing. Why do I even question her? But otherwise, the formula is absolutely beautiful. That is a beautiful, unique cream formula in here, or pomade, velvet pomade. The mattes, wonderful. That is just across the board. Whether you like the colors or not, there's no denying the quality of it. So, yeah, I think it's great. if this is something that fits into what you are looking for and what you use and what you need, this is definitely a wonderful option if it has a place in your routine or in your kit or whatever. It's a good solid palette for that. But yeah, I love that I could do literally my full face with this. Like even that little bit of blushiness come from this palette, and that was surprising. I didn't think that I would get a blush from this. Also, what do you guys think of me in red? Is this my color? Am I a red girly? I think I might be. I haven't worn red in years. And I think I love it. That is all for today.